to a series of conversation. This is PCEA Kikuyu Township. I'm your host, Danson Tegwa. To help me tackle our topic, which is youth discrimination, I have my esteemed panelists, and I would like them to introduce themselves. And I would like to start from the far left.
Hello, my name is Jackson Moy. I'm a teacher at Alliance Girls.
Hi guys, my name is Maki Anjui. I am a student at Moi University.
Hi, I'm Damaris Mongai and I'm an environmentalist. I love the great outdoors. I'm also a deacon in the church, in the Presbyterian Church of East Africa here in Kikuyu Township, and I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Karibu. Thank you, everyone. So the first question, what is youth discrimination? Jack?
Yeah, generally discrimination is when someone treats you unfairly sometimes or maybe differently from others. But now in this case, in our case, youth, we find ourselves maybe in the society we are being treated in an unfair way or in a different way than others. So that is what I can say discrimination in us youth is.
Mark?
I think it's looking down upon we the young people, probably for obvious reasons, maybe because we are young and maybe we don't have the experience that the older guys may have. So I think, in my opinion, that is youth discrimination. Yeah, looking down on people.
Dama, what do you think youth discrimination is?
From where I sit, I think youth discrimination is where a person is put down or a situation where a person is made to feel a bit lower than someone else, either because of exposure or the way they look or the way they talk or the way they say things. So in that case, then you feel someone is actually downtrodden on you, then you feel you're discriminated. That's what I feel is youth discrimination.
Wow. Downtrodden. All right. Moving on to the next question. What are the various forms of discrimination?
I'll give an example. I think by starting off by saying you can't do anything with kids, you can't win anything with kids. What do you know? You're just a kid. I think those are statements that are the epitome of looking down on people. And I want to give an example. I am a football fanatic and I like giving one example. Sir Alex Ferguson was once told by someone that because his youth, the class of 92, were deemed too young to win trophies for United, he was told you can't win anything with kids. But one of wonders, he actually used some of these so-called young players, and they actually ended winning him things and granting him the title Sir by the Queen. So I think that's one way of discriminating the youth. Simply because you're young, they assume you don't have the ability to do something. Yes.
So that is discrimination against the youth in because language.
Yes, for instance,
Jack Moy?
Yeah, also in the line of being discriminated in terms of language by our superiors or those who are experienced than us is somehow very uncomfortable. Like myself, when I was new in one of my working place, I found myself being called a mono because I'm just new. So, and I was not in Form 1. I was through with my campus and I had graduated. So it is some language that people use for when referring to the youth because they are. Others will call you even a kid. You are a kid, you know nothing, and you are over 18. So that one is very uncomfortable for the youth. Yeah, in terms of the language that people use referring to the youth. Yeah.
Now, Jack, now that the fact that you were in the school environment, is there discrimination against the youth in terms of administration? Do students get to choose what they want to learn, what they want to do, mode of teachings, such kind of things?
Okay, yes, we should listen to them. We should give them a a chance to express themselves. But on the other hand, still, you should monitor them and also avoid them from doing things that are not good. Yeah, though it's also good to listen to them or allow them to express their ideas, because they also have good minds and they can really give us very wonderful ideas.
And some of the things that they normally express, do they get an opportunity to, for the things to be implemented?
Yeah. Actually, in schools, I find that some of the students are the one that comes with ideas to run things like clubs in the school. They come up with those ideas. Then as teachers now, we come up to uplift them and also to guide them. Yeah.
Oh, great. Dama.
Yeah.
Discrimination against the youth in the working place. You find when a youth is looking for employment, when you look at the qualifications, 5 years of experience. This is someone who has been in school. This is someone who has been constantly told, do your studies. Tell these videos are kando. So where do they get the 5 years of experience from?
Thank you. That's a very, I would say, an interesting conversation, because when I look at it, I see in the workplace a situation where you find, indeed, definitely, youth may not have all the experience that comes with it. But at the same time, it provides us an opportunity to some extent, provide them with a space to grow. Now, discrimination comes in where, let's say, you're very good at what you do, assuming. And so you come into a workplace, and you come in as a workforce, let's say as an intern, an unpaid intern. But then you're very good at what you do. But because of your age, and the fact that you are not highly exposed in the workplace, no one thinks what you're saying is important. So you find yourself in a space whereas you want to grow and gain that kind of knowledge that you have been hearing, you find yourself in a situation where you call back as a young person. Because you have this boss or these colleagues who will constantly taunt you and tell you, now umetoka shule juzi unaweza kutuambia nini? And you have an amazing idea. Think of someone like the owner of Facebook. He was young. But can you imagine if he was in a space where he was employed and had these massive ideas? Would they have listened? Maybe not. So those are the kind of discrimination issues we see in an employment setting. But as we continue the conversation, we can see how some of these things can be how the youth can be able to get over them.
Yes. And do you think that, probably it could be the young people who have a preconceived idea about, getting a fair chance of, employment just from school, you expect to be absorbed into the working environment. Do you think it's a preconceived idea or?
It's what they've been told. The system has told us, go to school, learn very hard, study well. I'm very excited to see that we have a teacher from Alliance Girls here. And I'm sure that's what they tell them. You are the best in this country, learn very well, study hard, and you know what? You will get a job. And so they actually look forward to that. And as you just said, they are teens. And they are working on what they are being molded to believe. And so they continue working in that space, and they are definitely working hard to get very good grades, and they actually get them. And so when they finally get to that space, and they are getting all these no's, like stay back, and they have this sense of, I was told, I let me study. So there's a sense of entitlement. First of all, I am from the Alliance. So ideally, then you find them in a space where it's not very comfortable. But what I have realized with time is that once you see that space and you realize, okay, this is the real world, then you call yourself back to a meeting and you ask yourself, am I asking too much from the world? What do I need to do? Do I feel like I'm totally being discriminated because I'm young or because I don't have ideas? How should I tread? First of all, we're in Africa. We tread slowly. We have elders. There are certain people who will definitely always tell us, hey, watch what you're saying. You're young. Let's see. So ideally, it's just to know our space as young people. And then once you know your space, you know how to cultivate it to the next level. And one of the ways to cultivate it is to actually sit down with them. Ask them the journey. Because by the time you're seeing this boss who's been a boss for like only 5 years, you don't know how far back he has had to work, either for free or under a very bad boss, and has gone through a journey. So as millennials, and even as people who are still, would say, youthful, one of the things that we need to learn in order not to feel discriminated is what's the journey of this person.
Understanding the journey.
Yeah. Let's not look at the end first. Don't look at the reverend. You see him preaching very well and you're thinking, I am a youth pastor, I want to be like the reverend. Think, ask him, walk back with him and ask him. When he tells you, today you cannot preach, sit back and understand why. You're not being discriminated. He's just thinking, maybe not yet. Maybe you can't handle this thing as much. Maybe this is not the right time to take this particular theme, for example. And so instead of thinking of it as discrimination, let's ask ourselves, what's the journey to get there? Because there's always a journey. Yeah.
Wow. That is powerful. Think about the journey. It reminds me about the story of how gold is refined. You know how you have to dig to the ground to get the material, then it has to be exposed under very hot conditions of heat. Now before we see the end product. Yes. Community-based. Mark.
Like at my age, I come from a family of 4, and my older siblings are married or don't live with us anymore. So you find that I'll obviously expected to be the one who like the older sibling to the mentor to my younger sibling. And sometimes we usually do community work, maybe like do road work with others from other houses and stuff. So like recently we were talking with my dad. And my dad told me that I like being alone. And I found it quite ironic because I'm usually a person who's very outgoing. And of course, when you are doing community work with your elders, of course you will not be expected to be chatty and all that, and you will find yourself kind of isolated because my dad and his friends are the ones talking. So you find in a situation like that, when he comes and tells me that, I like being alone, I don't talk with the older members of the community, and yet you're expected to be in your place where you respect them and let them talk and, don't interfere with what they're saying, and yet at the same time they want you to take part in their discussions. So I feel that's sort of discrimination and a contradiction, because in as much as you're not expected to take part in their discussions, you're also expected to kuchangia tu chenye wanasema. So I feel that that's one way of looking down upon us, and at the same time I feel that when you kind of talk and share your ideas, they'll feel as if you're disrespecting them, and maybe the idea you have in mind is an idea that could make changes to the community in a positive way. So yes, I find myself getting confused from that point of view, but I think that that's one way that we find ourselves as the youth being discriminated and looked down upon by the older members of the community.
Yes. And I normally feel like sometimes the older generation, sometimes not always, they use this saying in French that says "Moduri keye they honor her with such kind of thing. And you imagine you contributing something, and then you're told that you just have to for your peace of mind. That's it. That is very good. At least you've highlighted the various forms of discrimination. Now, moving forward from that, how do we help the society? How do we help the next generation in regards to the possible solutions towards ending youth discrimination?
For me, I think that this pandemic, has kind of brought people together, because in this generation of where everyone is stuck to their camera phones and stuff, you find out that you won't be able to socialize and share ideas with other people, and you'll find yourself isolated. But now that we are together as a family, I think the older members of the community, maybe for instance the parents, need to kind of like learn and from the younger members, because in our generation, you may find out that maybe you're doing some sort of online work, but when they see you not doing maybe like manual work or what you used to do in the past, they'll assume you are lazing around and you don't do anything to help the family or anything like that. So I think they need to like stop being respectfully stop being like ignorant and kind of like get to know us and know what we do in this day and age, so that maybe then they learn to like find that we actually have good ideas that we can use to even help them, you see. So I think that's one way of like ending youth discrimination, getting to know us and listen to us.
Yes, getting to know the youth.
Yes.
And understand how the world has changed.
And also embrace change.
Okay.
Exactly. Okay. Because if we don't embrace change, I don't think we are going anywhere as a country, as a society, as a world. Yes.
That's great. Jack?
Yeah, okay, maybe also to add on the same or on how to maybe to, I don't know, okay, to end discrimination, I don't think we can really end it, because you can't control the person who is discriminating you. Like if my boss is discriminating me, I don't think I can control that. That is something that is beyond measure. Like,
but you can be able to control someone who will come under you. Well, you see one.
Yeah, sure. And I was coming to that. So,
sorry.
I'm saying this now. Now that you can't control the person who is discriminating your boss, or if it is maybe in your workplace, be patient with them, or maybe you can as well work hard to prove them wrong, because I find sometimes that when a young person maybe in a workplace does a mistake, that mistake is so much magnified, like it's the serious offense that a person can commit, and others are doing the same maybe, but not because you are young and you have committed a mistake, it is seen as if you have committed the worst mistake, you see. So it's good also to for us we be patient with them, and also we try to work hard to prove our point. Yes.
Dama?
Thank you. For me, twofold. From a youth perspective, one of the ways that I think we can reduce the perception or the thought that we are being discriminated on is being your own person.
Be you.
Know you. And I'm very excited that the previous conversation was on personal branding. Because once you know you, and you're in a space where you are doing whatever it is you're doing in a very amazing way, even if someone comes and tells you you're doing it in the wrong way, you definitely know you're doing the right thing. And he just gave a very good example where, for a long time, many of us who used to see young people on their computers, on their phones, had no idea what they were doing. Now, we are all stuck on Zoom, we are stuck on just processes that are online. Our parents are starting to tell us, now we understand what you're doing. So the twofold is, I know that I'm not wasting time. I know, yes, you want me to go to the garden, but Daddy, I'm very good in my IT skills. I'm very good in what I do. I'm very good in my online space. And one day you'll understand, because either I'm a blogger, or I'm an influencer, or I'm a creative.
Yeah, true, that is true.
And now from the other end is getting from the traditional to getting back to understanding the way the world is flowing. I was just having a conversation with my husband, and we were just talking about the whole phone technology. And here we are every day, we want to say, do you know when I got my first phone? Because I'm hearing my daughter who's like 8 years old telling me, Mommy, I want a phone, I'm like, my friend, do you know when I got my first phone? But really, is that the right conversation to tell them now? Because they are in a world that's very IT digital space.
Yeah, true.
So everything is around here. I see every time my little one takes the phone, they scroll up. They assume it will scroll up because that's what they have seen. They haven't seen the phone where you click on what we used to know, buttons. So really, when you're in that space and you're still trying to tell your young man in the house stuff, and you've not tried to understand what is changing, then totally you're discriminating this person in an amazing way or in a really bad way, and making them not become who they want or should be. So it's also for our elder generation or our older generation to try and tweak themselves a bit and to understand the narrative. Just like I'm trying to understand, she's asking for a phone, yes. I know why she's asking, and it's because this is the only thing she knows for now, because that's what they've grown up seeing. So, so in terms of twofold, it's ourselves, the young people, knowing who we are, understanding ourselves, knowing our voice, and then for the older ones, understanding that, hey, we're in another space. Can we understand so that we don't put these people in a space where they feel like we are discriminating them?
Wow, that's a powerful conversation. We've come to the end of our discussion, so I want to give each and everyone an opportunity for a parting shot. Jack.
Okay, maybe my final word is mostly I'm talking much of the workplace because I'm a person who has just been employed the other day, so I'm really seeing these things happening in my real life, and you find that sometimes, and not only myself, even I have other friends. Like when I was coming here, someone just called me, and it was a young lady who was just even crying because of the things she's undergoing in that institution where she's working. And you find that this thing of discrimination for us youth is there, it is there. So I would like even those people who have employed us as youth, let them give us a space even to make those mistakes. Let them guide us, let them tell us how things are done, but in a good way, not in a ways that, remember, we are human beings, and we'll also make those mistakes. So let them guide us in the right way. Yes.
Thank you, Jack. Mark?
There are 9 fruits of the Holy Spirit, and one of the fruits of the Holy Spirit is a fruit called patience. And when you embrace this fruit called patience, I think patience will lead to proper communication between the older generation and with the youth. And when you communicate efficiently and understand their side of the coin, and they get to understand our side of the coin, I think a proper equilibrium will be created. And when the proper equilibrium will be created, I think the blend of youth and the experience from the older generation will at least help us move forward as a whole, as a community. And I think that's one way youth discrimination will be nullified.
Right. Yes. Thank you, Mark. Dama?
Thank you. I think what I can say is that this is a season. Being youthful and feeling discriminated is actually a season. But then, can we learn from it so that when we are the older ones, we remember what happened to us when we were younger and change the narrative? And then to change, to finish it with the Word of God, because it is what holds us close. And this is from 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12, which says, then let no one despise you for your youth, but set the believers an example in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. And not forgetting again a point in Samuel's life where in 1 Samuel 16:7, it says that, but the Lord said to Samuel, do not look on his appearance or on the height of his stature, because I have rejected him. That was because there was a king that he thought would be the king. For the Lord sees not as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. So if we can continue knowing that ultimately we will achieve our objectives, whether we feel downtrodden or not, God is always there and he's watching the bigger picture.
Great. Thank you very much, panelists. I thank you, and on behalf of PCEA Kikuyu Township Youth Fellowship, tunawashukuru. So that's the end of it. Tuonaneni.